Well, have no fear. The Digipreneur is here, my friends. Hour number 2. Let's get the ball rolling. 3 minutes after 7, and we welcome Keron Rose. Always a pleasure. Keron, morning. Great to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you once again. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm looking at today's topic. It's about closing the tech literacy gap in TNT. And let me tell you, it's a massive gap because I've seen firsthand where certain technologies, companies would roll it out. Let's start firstly with the airport. They rolled out a kiosk back in the day for folks to do their scanning to, like we do it in New York, JFK, Miami, all the different airports. It didn't work out. I was part of the big promotion, big respect to Massey for rolling out the self-checkout. I use it all the time. But there's still people who stand up in line and they're watching the self-checkout cut eye. Now they have the card, but they just don't even know. They don't know how to interact with the tech. So that's just 2 examples I would have used, and I'm sure you could bring so many more. And the question remains, how do we close this tech literacy gap, this beyond the literacy, just the fear factor to get it to be far removed from someone's spirit so that they could now engage with the tech?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, let's preface the conversation by saying this. We're not telling every single person in Trinidad and Tobago, you need to start using all of the technology that's available to them. I think where the conversation, when it comes to closing the gap is that you want to start to educate people so that they start to feel comfortable using some of the basic things so that we can move the needle. We can get the majority of people utilizing the technology to our advantage so that I'll give you an example. When we look at banking, right, we know that there is a large population that doesn't want to use things like online services. Sometimes you have people that don't even want to use the ATMs and they prefer to line up, which is why we still have these big long lines at the end and the beginning of the month. People still want to conduct their services with tellers. Now, about 25 years ago in Canada, right, when online banking and mobile app banking rolled out, what the banks did abroad was when it rolled out, for the first 6 months, they had workshops inside of the branch, and every time you walked in, they would ask you, hey, what are you here to do? You're here to do something like pay a bill. You're here to do a wire transfer money to somebody else. They would bring you into a workshop that they held in the branch, and like almost every 30 minutes there was a workshop that was teaching people how to utilize the services. And then after the 6 months, they set up little kiosks with computers inside of the branches. And when somebody asked you, hey, what are you looking to do? They would bring you over to the kiosk and they would show you how to use the computer to do online banking and mobile banking. And they did that for a while until people started to get accustomed to online banking. And this is why, the education aspect of it is huge, because until you start to teach people the most basic things when it comes to everyday technology like self-checkout in the grocery, online banking, the fear factor is always going to be there, and they're just not going to take it upon themselves to go and learn it because it's people's money involved, and that brings a whole level of fear.
Well, let me ask you, because I was part of I must say Massey did it the right way. Massey indeed went through a whole process of teaching people how to do the self-checkout, massive promotions throughout all the groceries, showing people step by step. But I wonder if we as Trinis, we love the interaction with the teller, with the cashier, with that human being, that relationship we would have built over the years. I wonder if that's probably part of it, and we probably need to strike a balance in the Caribbean setting as opposed to, let's say, North America, Canada, these more fast-paced, bigger nations.
So that's a great thing that you brought up. Right now, what I laugh about is we continuously say that we want the human interaction, but every single day, and we've spoken about this before, when you go online, you can almost always see people talking about that customer service doesn't exist in Trinidad and Tobago. So which one is it? Is it that we love human interaction, or is it that customer service and customer experience don't exist? Because when you ask people, hey, can you name 5 companies that you get amazing customer service consistently across multiple branches, almost nobody can say what companies are doing it the best to list out 5, right? When it comes to self-checkout, though, there's a good example. We have WebSource, who has over the years expanded, and now when you go into the store or into the branch, they have about 5 kiosks, and there's only ever one person, one human teller at the front to help people who want to pay cash or who aren't comfortable with the technology. Up to this day, they've invested in so much education and teaching people how to use the kiosk and also their mobile app that now when you go in, there's almost nobody ever using the human side. Everybody's either using the app or everybody's using the tellers. So when a company is doing it right, we are utilizing the technology. But because, again, most companies aren't investing in the education side and trying to simplify the process and get people comfortable, this is why we continue to go to the humans, but then we always complain that we don't get the human experience that we're looking for.
So let's take it even further. Now, when we look at where we are right now, it's 2024. I'm going to be 45 this year. You look like a couple of years right behind me. You look pretty much younger than me. So I guess we all could relate to coming in. So I was born late 70s. I'm sure you probably could be mid 80s. You'd have to say, Rose, but I'm sure we could relate to being in an analog period. We came into the world analog and transitioned into digital space. So we are that generation that can relate to the both sides. The kids now, from the time they're born, they're touching the phone, they know what a remote control is, they are kind of digital.
They've grown up in it, yeah.
So I'm thinking, is it that this particular generation, we are like the last to have this particular issue? Because I trust the children who will be adults in the next 10, 15, 20 years, they might not have this particular issue.
Yeah, very good point. So yes, with that generation that's coming up behind the millennials and younger, they're probably not going to face the challenges that we are having. But again, the thing is that we're not going to convert everybody to use all the technology. What we want is to have multiple touch points. So the people who want to have the digital access and utilize the platforms online, they can go ahead and use it. The people who are curious, who just need, some more help and assistance, we need to be able to provide those outlets for them to learn how to use it. Because you know what? That's been the biggest thing to me as to what's not happening in the Caribbean, that's happening in North America. When it wasn't the banks teaching you how to utilize mobile apps to do banking, when I used to work at Apple, we still to this day, there's workshops happening in Apple teaching people how to use the technology. There are so many touch points in North America and in Europe for you to go and learn how to use everyday technology, but you don't really have that happening here. So when you're not sensitizing the public to the tech, again, they're not going to use it. But outside of workshops, how many of the institutions do we have locally who are creating content, who are putting the information out on a YouTube channel, putting information on their websites? Rather than taking out ads in the papers, why are people not taking out columns and teaching people how to utilize their particular technology services? Again, to sensitize the public. When you're not doing these things, people are always going to be apprehensive and they're just not going to take it upon themselves to use the tech. But that's always been the biggest gap to me from the first world countries than here in the Caribbean.
You're making a solid point, because the reality is many people not wanting to feel, like they don't know or feel, as we say, dotish. You don't want to feel like, to me, every question is a valid question. And there are people, because of their hang-ups, they don't want to ask, so they rather not interact and just leave it alone. Some really, you can see they want to, but they're not sure, they're a bit uncertain, and if there's no one to really walk you step by step and guide you through, there's no place to learn, you might just leave it alone. I guess a lot of people learn actually the tech from their children. Children and grandchildren are the ones who will, let's be real, many a time, granny or a parent or grandpa will call, "Hey, come in. What's going on here?" And the child will come in and literally do the adjustment. All children, clearly, they come like the IT consultants for their family.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is back in Apple, we used to be telling people all the time, your family and your friends usually never have the time to teach you how to utilize the technology. So again, we would have the workshops inside of Apple, and every single day there was multiple themes. So you would go onto the website, see what workshops are happening for that day, then book yourself in and come in. We had a seniors class hour, so 9 o'clock in the morning, the seniors classes used to happen. And every single day, the seniors classes were packed because again, they want to learn how to utilize the technology. I remember being in Miami the other day, and there was a lady she looked like she was well into her 80s. She's she has a cane, she looks on the older side, she has her phone there, and she is there, she's on Instagram, using Instagram, she's on Amazon, doing her online shopping. And again, the older generation, they can get hip with the technology, but I know for a fact they have the outlets over there for these people to come in and learn. And if we don't provide these spaces here, again, people are not just going to pick up and learn, because especially when it comes down to people's money, people not wanting to make mistakes because they don't feel like they can call the company and get things rectified in a timely manner. People just rather not make any mistakes from the jump, because where is the support? And even if I make a mistake, is there anybody that's going to help me, or is the institution going to put me through a whole drama to get things sorted out?
This morning I'm glad we kind of went through a wide scope of scenarios, because yes, what you're saying is absolutely true. Yes, I would have mentioned that many a grandparent or a parent will call a child or a grandchild to help, but then there are those who are up to the minute. There is a massive portion of the population, mature in age, but they are versed with the tech. They know exactly what's happening. They can navigate without any kind of assistance. But I still feel it boils back down to that human interaction, and probably many people not trusting the system. They rather deal and communicate and conduct business with a human being, because there is that lack of trust, that not knowing if indeed this transaction and my money will hit the system. And they don't really want any kind of embarrassment or any kind of issue. So I rather deal over the counter, stand up here in this line for half an hour to meet somebody eye to eye, face to face, to interact, so that I could see them put it in the system when I could have done it at home.
Now, again, we're not going to convert everybody. The goal is for businesses to provide all of these additional resources so that the people who want to conduct their transactions on their own can. And what that does is, if more people are going online and conduct their transactions utilizing technology, that frees up more space in the queues in the rest of the organizations for the people who want the human interaction to go and do that. We all should not be packing up in the banks at the end of the month because half the transactions I want to do are not available for me online, so I got to go and do it, right? Again, the goal is to start to get more people utilizing the technology, and that's going to free up the lines and the queues for the people that need the human interaction. They have, they don't have that longer lines to deal with, and again, everybody's happy.
Hey, Rose, as always, thank you so much. I mean, this morning, every discussion is realer, but this one, I think a lot of people felt it, because it speaks to the reality every single day on the ground when it comes to business. And I agree wholeheartedly that we need to really find interesting ways, unique ways, whether we do it on location or we do, as you rightfully said, ads, stuff on YouTube to guide people in the direction of, here is an option to save on time, because you can't get back time, right? Save on time to there's another option to do your transaction. So as always, sincere thanks, Keron, and God spare we'll get a chance to do it again next week.
Take care.
All the best. Peace. Keron Rose, our Digipreneur digital strategist. Up next, Conversations on Cancer. Dr. LeBlanc, she is here with me, taking a little time off her schedule. She was there very busy at the expo yesterday, U Health and Wellness Expo. So she'll give us a little recap as to some of the developments yesterday. And we'll obviously get more details as the International Women's Day. It's around the corner, and we'll get some more as to what the Cancer Society is doing to commemorate that very special occasion. Dr. LeBlanc, up next.